So welcome to Peaceful Warrior Yoga from the Blue Mountains. Beautiful, gorgeous day here at my friend's place. And you'll hear, I'd say you're going to hear a lot of birds in the background as we do our class today. We have the friendly parrots and bowerbirds and lots of creatures. Come into a comfortable position, focus on how you're feeling, notice what's going on. And just start to slow the breath down a little bit. Just breathe a little more gently. And notice when you breathe a little more gently, a little more slowly, that the proximity changes. You feel closer to yourself, less distracted by the outer world. So you come into this space where you're aware of the outer world, but it's less compelling. And sometimes there's a little surprise. You get surprised how enjoyable the breath can feel. It may even impact the nervous system. And as you exhale, feel yourself grow a little taller, almost like you're straightening up like a tree growing up. So you inhale, you fill up, expand, and as you exhale, that expansion becomes vertical. And on the next inhale, gently float the hands above the head, let the palms touch. And then float the hands outwards like a big bird flying in slow motion. So synchronizing movement with breath. Inhale, arms lift up, touch. Exhale, hands float down, palms towards the earth. You might be moving faster than me or slower than me. Just work at the rhythm of your own breath. If you want to do a breath retention in or out, you can add that to the movement. Feeling the lubrication in the shoulders. And now start to add the movement of the head as you lift up, look up. Reach up, touch. And this time as you float down, drop the head and round, almost like you're melting forward. And you start to feel the movement up and down the entire spine, from tailbone to neck. Good. So arching the back as you inhale, lift up. Rounding the back as you exhale, look down. Now the next time you exhale, drop the left hand to the floor, to the mat. Lean to the left, let the left ear dangle towards the shoulder, feel attraction in the right side of the neck, and reach over like a rainbow. Reach a little more, feel that right rib cage open up, the armpit. Inhale, come up, and then exhale, change sides. nice and slowly. Just hang out here for a bit. Oh, stretching out like you're waking up in the morning. And then float from side to side. Inhaling to neutral, exhaling, lateral flexion one side, and then the other. That's it. Feeling the stretch from the hips all the way up into the skull, along each side of the body. And we're going to change that motion the next time you come to the left into a twisting motion. So bringing the left hand behind the back, right hand crosses over the midline of the body. Bring the shoulder back, turning the head towards the back shoulder. Inhaling, release, relax. Exhale, come to the other side. That's it. Oh, feels good. Alternate side to side. That's it. If you want to slightly change that movement, when you twist to the left, the torso twists to the left, let the head twist to the right. So you get that ringing out effect in the spine. The cervical spine twisting in the opposite direction to the thoracic spine. That gives the spine a little joyous buzz. And the next time you come to neutral pause, find that slow, gentle breath again. Feel the outside world move into the background and the breath to the foreground. Take a deep, slow breath in and then come onto all fours. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, little cat and cow here. Not too quickly, just moving at the speed of the breath. And then extend the left leg back, drop the ball of the foot to the mat, push out through the heel, get a delicious stretch through the calf muscle. Lean and find balance in the right side of the body, left hand on hips. So right hand, right knee, right foot, balancing the body. Look up towards the sky. And if your shoulder is okay, mine's a little tender here, so lift up towards the sky. That's it. And then come into a half bind, left hand behind the back. And bring that left shoulder back. Look up again. Now really push out through the heel bone, get that calf muscle stretch. And then exhale, return to all fours, cat and cow. Let's try the other side. Extend right leg back, drop the ball of the foot, press through the heel bone. Look for your balance on the left side, hand, knee, foot. Right hand, right hip, shoulder back, look up towards the sky, and then reach up. Good. Right hand, half bind behind the back. Bring the right shoulder back. Oh, nice big stretch. And then slowly come back. All fours, come down into child pose. Let everything go. Knees wide, tops of the feet down, traction out the low back. And find that foreground breath. Slow, gentle breath. Inhale, come up to all fours. This time we'll do a little pelvic rotation here. Create a circle with the pelvis in one direction. And notice how that affects the shoulder joints, hips. Cockatoos like this one. And then the other way around. If the knees are at all sensitive, you can pad the knees with a towel or blanket. If your wrists are sensitive, you can make fists instead of hands. And then change that rounding motion to back and forth, so you kind of come into a lazy up dog and then back to a half child pose. Inhale, come through, lazy up dog. That's it. Back to relaxed child. And imagine your spine is a little more fluid, a little less rigid, and it starts to make little waves between the arch and the rounding. Now, if you're feeling a little more ambitious, you can turn that into a full up dog, lifting the knees from the floor, shoulders back, coming into a deeper back bend. But stay with how your body feels, what your needs are today. And remember, if the wrists start to get a little taxed, you can change that into fists. Now the next time you come back, rather than come back to child pose, curl the toes, push the hips back into bent knee, downward dog. Bring the whole body forward into high plank, and then back to bent knee, downward dog. So just a variation of what we were doing before, but keeping the knees off the ground. And the next time you come back to your full expression of downward dog. And lift the left foot high to the sky, three-legged dog. Big step forward with the left foot. Bring it to the left hand and keep the hands under the heart and drop the back knee. So you feel that dragon shape. Feel the stretch in the back hip flexor. And here, start to do a little cat and cow movement. rounding the back, arching the back, lifting the eyes, dropping the head, rounding the back. And increase the range of motion as much as you can, even if the front toes lift off the mat. So you feel it in the hamstring as well. Keep doing this until you feel like you can walk the hands all the way back to the back foot, keeping the front leg nice and straight, toes curled up, and bringing the weight down onto the back foot. And if that's too much, use blocks under the hands or hands to support the weight. And from here you can bring the head forward to that front knee. And feel all that traction in the hamstring, low back. And then make your way up slowly as you walk your hands forward. Big step back to downward dog. And this time, right foot high to the sky, three-legged dog. Let's do the same on the other side. Big step forward. Drop the back knee, hands under the heart. Cat and cow, inside dragon. And let the range of motion grow steadily so you start to move the stretch into the hamstring and the low back. And at some point, you might feel invited to walk the hands back towards the back foot, bringing the weight down onto that back leg, toes curled up. And to really get the most out of this one, as you lean forward, you'll feel the hamstring stretch. Yum, yum, yum. Now when we come into a little more intensity like this, the breath tends to recede to the background. See if you can bring it to the foreground once again. And then slowly walk forward. Step back, downward dog. And from downward dog, you can come down to child pose. Let everything go. Come back to that slow, gentle breath. And then slowly make your way up to Vajrasana onto the shins. Remember, you can sit on a block here. And the good thing about traveling is you come across all sorts of ways to learn new things or be reminded of things you've forgotten. So today we'll focus a little bit on the pelvic floor. So that area just at the top of the legs, right into the butt. And you can sometimes squeeze it. You feel like you're trying to hold yourself back from going to the loo. So just practicing those pelvic squeezes with the breath. As you inhale, relax the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, start to pull the navel back. Push the hips forward slightly. Engage the abdominals and squeeze the glutes so you feel the pelvic floor tighten. And then relax, inhale. So this is a little bit of conscious awareness. We're often not consciously aware of the pelvic floor as we activate our daily work. And it's a great piece of the body to come back to. Exhale, crunch, tighten the pelvic floor. Stop yourself from going to the loo. Hold it in. Inhale, relax. So strengthening this really important part of the body. Can help with any kind of resistance training as well. Three more breaths, 3 more pelvic tightening and loosening. And you can feel how it activates the whole core area of the body. You can see that relationship to the core of the body, the abdominals, the glutes. And then we'll come forward once again onto all fours. So every now and then during our class today, I'll come back to the pelvic floor and the breath. Inhale, push back to downward dog. Lift the left foot high to the sky, 3-legged dog. Now this time when you step forward, keep the right knee lifted. Keep the hands on the mat. Runner's stretch. Bring the breath to the foreground. Now as you inhale, squeeze the pelvic floor and come on up, activating the core to lift you up. Inhale, squeeze, and lift both hands above the floor, above the head. And once again, bring the breath to the foreground. And every now and then bring your awareness down to your pelvic floor as you exhale, contract and hold. Inhale, relax. Exhale, hold. Float the hands down, step back, downward dog. From here, you can bring the head forward, high plank. Drop knees, chest and chin. And keep the hips elevated, feet elevated, like you're trying to kiss the earth. And then let the whole body sink down. Lift the head, float the shoulders up, heart up. Feel cobra. Squeeze the pelvic floor. So when you come into back bend, squeezing the pelvic floor can really help support the low back. Exhale, downward dog. Step the right foot high to the sky, 3-legged dog. And big step forward, keep the left knee lifted, hands under the heart. Bring the breath to the foreground. Push down with that right foot, engage the pelvic floor, and float yourself up, inhale. Bring the breath to the foreground. As you exhale, squeeze the pelvic floor. Exhale, downward dog. Step back. Knees, chest, chin, inchworm. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, child pose. Now inhale, come back to tabletop. Rotate the pelvis. Just notice how your low back is feeling. Rotate the other way. pause and lift the right hand to the sky, feeling that rotation in the body. And then with care, thread the needle, bring the shoulder and the side of the head to the earth. And repeat that motion for another 3 or 4 repetitions. And the next time you come to threaded needle, pause. Balance the weight into the right side of the body, the back of the head, the right shoulder, the right knee. Straighten the left leg. So you'll start to feel a balance come in. Left hand, left hip. And from here you can experiment. You can lift the left foot to the sky, left hand to the sky. You can capture the left foot with the left hand into a quadricep stretch. You might tip over here, that's okay. Make sure the cat's not behind you. And then slowly come back to child pose. Take a moment to relax. And then coming back to tabletop. Left hand to the sky. And thread the needle on this side. 3 or 4 reps. Feel the range of motion. And then bringing the shoulder to the earth, side of the head to the earth. Hold threaded needle. Find your balance on the left side of the body. Right leg straightens out behind you. And as you get confidence in your balance, you can start to lift the limbs. You can grab the foot into a quadricep extension. Oh, feeling my age this morning. And in your own time, you can release and come back to child pose carefully. Oh, and that should be a good start to our class today, a good stretch. And then we'll make our way onto our butt. And from there onto our back. Now when you're on the back, bring the knees together, feet apart, palms out. TP pose. Let the back body relax. Bring the breath to the foreground so the focus is on that slow, gentle breath. And then in this relaxed position, practice that awareness of tightening the pelvic floor as you exhale and relaxing it as you inhale. So starting to take back that conscious control of awareness of this often neglected part of the body that does so much for us that we take it for granted. Separate the knees to the point that they're above the ankles, hip width distance apart, Inhale, lift the pelvis up, squeeze the buttocks. Engage the pelvic floor. Exhale, lower down. When you're back to the earth, relax the pelvis, relax the pelvic floor, relax the breath. Let's try that again. Squeeze the buttocks, inhale, lift, hold. Exhale, come down, one vertebra at a time. Still squeezing the buttocks, squeezing the bum, and then relax and let it loose. Try it again. When you're settled, relax. Bring both hands above the heart, create a diamond shape. So that means the pointer fingers are together, thumb tips are together. Inhale, bring both hands over the head, maybe touching the ground over the head. And as you exhale, bring the knees up, head up, squeeze the pelvis, and crunch up. Keep your diamond shape. Inhale, drop the feet, reach back. Exhale, crunch. Squeeze the pelvis. Inhale back. One more. Inhale now. Inhale, lift up the hips, lift them up, squeeze and hold, and take that diamond shape underneath your buttocks. So you're going to sit on the back of your hands with that diamond shape. So it's going to slightly lift the pelvis off the floor. Got some nasty little bitey bugs here. And from here, extend both legs out in front of you, point the toes, heels 1 or 2 inches off the floor, squeeze the butt. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. So this is going to support the low back because you have the hands underneath the buttocks. Inhale, lifting the legs up. Exhale, lowering them down. Some lower abdominal strengthening work. And remember to keep the buttocks squeezed as you do this to engage the core, protect the low back. Now, if you're fine with this, you can do the same thing with the hips abducted, so you can straddle the legs, lifting up, lowering down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lowering down. 2 more. Now, the next time they come up, bring them together, release the hands from underneath you and grab the hamstrings and pull the hamstrings toward you, toes curled back. And if you like, you can climb the legs. Squeeze the buttocks. Slowly come down with that pelvic floor engagement. And relax. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, climb the legs, squeeze the buttocks. And slowly come down. Let's try that with the abducted hips. Straddle the legs. Bring the hands inside the knees. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, climb outwards and up. Squeeze the butt. And then slowly release. Bring the feet together. Drop the feet to the earth. Heels together, knees out to the side. Come into butterfly position. And clasp the hands behind the head here. So you have the butterfly with the upper and lower wings open. Let's start some gentle butterfly wing flapping, bringing the knees together, elbows together, head comes off the floor, and then inhale, open up the wings, lowering the head back. So just a gentle flapping. Exhaling as you come up. And remember, as you exhale and come up, to engage that pelvic floor contraction. And for those who want to, you can sustain the upward squeeze, wrapping the forearms around the skull, squeezing the back of the skull, and tractioning out where the skull meets the neck, the occiput. Oh, getting rid of all that tension. For as many breaths as you like, remembering not to overdo it, to come down and open up when you're ready. So you're getting that big stretch in the back body. And as you lay down, you can start to arch the back more. As you arch the back, squeeze the buttocks. Elbows towards the floor more, opening up the front of the body. So you have these back opening, front opening, alternating. And maybe progressing as your body gets more and more used to the movement. And the next time you come open into butterfly, release the head, palms face up, 45 degrees out from the hips. And just a little head movement here, turning the head to the right. Inhale the head to neutral. Exhale the head to the left. Inhale the head to neutral. Extend the left leg. Keep the right foot against the left leg so you're in tree pose on the back. And we'll do the same head rotations right and left, with a pause in between. In tree pose on this side. And then change legs. Tree pose the other side. And let's keep the head rotation going. Head right. Head back to neutral. Head left. Head to neutral. Now bring both feet out and both feet to the right of your mat. And cross the left ankle over the right ankle. Shuffle your shoulders a little bit to the right of the mat. And then raise both hands into the air. And the right hand's going to grab the left wrist and pull the left hand over the head. Oh yeah. Big lateral stretch through the entire body. Banana pose. Bring the breath to the foreground. And as you exhale, squeeze the pelvic floor. It's almost like you're squeezing the butt and the whole area of the buttocks is tightening. Inhale and then relax. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale and then relax. One more. Carefully release, uncross, straighten and relax. Relax completely. And then bring both feet to the left side of the mat. Right ankle over left. Shuffle the shoulders a little bit to the left so you get that banana shape in the body. And then float both hands into the air. This time the left hand is going to grab right wrist. Up and over. Oh. Oh, yeah. That feels good. Thanks, Chris. Oh. Nice big stretch. Now bring the breath to the foreground and those pelvic contractions. Ah, the shade from the harsh Australian sun. Much nicer.
Is that better?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's great. And release and relax. And let everything go. Bending both knees, feet on the floor. Heel toe the feet out to the edges of the mat. And from here, allow the knees to fall to the right and then the left, like windshield wipers. Feeling the lumbar twist. And if you can, bring the hands out perpendicularly, if there's such a word. From the shoulders, palms down, 90 degrees. As the knees fall to the left, let the head turn to the right. Get that double twist going once again in the spine. As the knees fall to the right, of course, the head turns in the opposite direction. If you can, do that same motion except with the feet elevated, shins perpendicular to the ground. So you're using the core strength to control the movement. Those strong oblique muscles to put the brakes on. And see if you can get to a point where your lower leg touches the floor and the bottom knee touches the floor. If it can't touch the floor, bring a cushion or even a block underneath the knee so you can make contact with something. Now the next time the knees fall to the left, pause, resting on floor or block. Now it's pretty obvious, you can see my top knee has a space between the top knee and the bottom knee. So I'm going to use my left hand to pull that top knee down. Apply the appropriate amount of pressure here, don't overdo it. Because that lumbar spine is not used to twisting. So it takes a while for it to let go, to trust. So let yourself melt into the twist. Add some more pressure over time. So the piriformis also gets a nice lengthening here. Oh yeah. Now slowly release. Let's come back to neutral. TP pose. And feel the contrast you've created in the, particularly the left outer hip and the right outer hip. And then once again, bringing the feet wide to the edges of the mat. Start the windshield wipering again. Remember, the head moves in the opposite direction to the knees, creating that double twist. And then if you can, if you have that core strength and control of the obliques, lift lift the feet and the shins into the air. Try to make contact. You can move your pillow or block to the other side if you're using that. And then finally ground down. So this time the right knee is on the ground. And once again using that right hand to leverage and support the top knee to come closer. So remember, in a twist we're looking for delicious discomfort, not pain. Never overdoing it. Bring the breath to the foreground. So creating that awareness to bring the breath to the foreground in all sorts of shapes, all sorts of conditions. And it should help regulate the nervous system so that we don't get unduly stressed when we're bent out of shape. And that's, of course, literally and metaphorically. And coming back onto the back, come back to TP pose, feel that relaxation. And let's do a little more inversion work here, bringing the hands into that diamond shape underneath the buttocks, lift the hips, lift the legs. Now you can just maintain this static inversion. It's almost restorative in nature. You could bring a bolster underneath your hips if you prefer an elevated hip. And if you'd like to go for something a little more vigorous, you can. Lift the hips up off the ground, push into the ground, and bring the hands into the kidney area. Legs elevated into that half shoulder stand. Bringing your awareness to the back of the neck. You don't want the weight to be pressing into the back of the neck. So you can start to straighten the legs into a full shoulder stand. Use the abdominals here and the pelvic floor to hold the legs up. Or you can curl over into snail pose
or plow as they call it. Feet may reach the floor, they may not. I like to have a table behind me sometimes to be able to put the toes on something. Or you could simply just play, you could straddle the legs, you can just have fun. But remember, when you're ready to come down, very important to bring the hands to the floor, palm down, and as you come down, lift the head up and brace the neck. So you don't whip on the neck. You can bend the knees, using that control to come back up. And I recommend teepee pose again here to give the low back time to find its natural position. Not coming out into extended legs straight away because the back goes from a curl to an arch too quickly. And then pick up both knees and turn the knees in a slow, deliberate circle. Like you're massaging out the kidneys, the low back. Even the shoulder blades will feel this. And the other way. Now, make sure that you're in a position. We're moving towards Shavasana, so you want to make sure you've got something warm, that you don't get cold in Shavasana. And depending how your low back feels, you can come back to teepee pose or extended legs, or you can even bring a bolster under the thighs if you'd like. And in the beginning of Shavasana, allow the awareness of the breath to come forward. Come into that slow, natural breath. But just add one piece of intervention. As you exhale, pause for a count of 1 or 2 before you inhale. When you inhale, let it be very soft, very natural. Exhale. And before you inhale, intervene, just pause. Wait for the second impulse to breathe before you breathe in. And then breathe in. So you're breaking that habit of shallow breath, of shortening the breath. And that tends to make us breathe in the upper respiratory tract. And unfortunately creates a parasympathetic nervous response, an agitation, animation in the nervous system that doesn't always need to be there. So that little pause makes all the difference. 1, 2, inhale naturally. And keep doing this until your attention drifts off, letting go of all intervention. Just letting the mind wander where it wants to wander. Not looking for a still mind, just letting the awareness of your breath be in the foreground and the busy mind in the background. Now take the next 5 to 10 breaths. Let's say 10 breaths. So plenty of time. Take more breaths if you just feel like staying in Shavasana longer. So the main thing is to stay unrushed, lethargic and slow as you emerge from Shavasana. Your goal is to transition to a comfortable seated position eventually. In your own time, unless you want to stay in Shavasana, and then you just hang out in Shavasana. Now your comfortable kneeling position could be kneeling or cross-legged or campfire pose, whatever just feels the right finish. If you're cross-legged, it's good to have a little blanket underneath you to tilt the pelvis forward. And in that seated position, once again, bring the slow, natural breath into the foreground with that slight intervention of pausing at the end of the exhale, just for a little bit. And in that relaxed pause at the end of the exhale, the breath returns in a natural rhythm, a little deeper, a little more abdominal in its nature. And because it's more abdominal in its nature, it's a great chance to practice that pelvic floor contraction on the exhale. Pull the navel back, squeeze the buttocks. Relax and inhale, expand. Exhale, gently release. Pause, contract, sit up tall. Relaxed inhale. So you're training your belly breath to return as the natural way to breathe, rather than this unnatural shallow breathing we tend to get caught up in. So thank you for joining me today. Namaste. Lovely. Thank you.